Okay, here we are with section 4.8. We're talking about absolute values. Now, if you've had me before, you've heard me talk about absolute value and what it is. Definition of absolute value is the distance a number is from zero. We denote it with those up and down bars beside it that look kind of like railroad tracks is what I kind of say. And it says, how far are you from zero? So take a look at this in a second. So if I ask you this would say, how far is 3 from 0? You would answer and say that it's 3. But we can also say, how far is -3 from 0? And you would say that that's 3 steps also. So this is what we did in the past. I would just ask you the distance something is from 0 by putting those absolute values. But now we're going to go and say, well, what can I put in here? Who lives 3 miles from TCC? That's what I'm saying. This is 3 miles. We want to know who lives from 3 miles from TCC. Or who is 3 steps from 0. And I can put in here, I can put in a 3 equals 3 or the absolute value of -3. So this, I can say that x is equal to 3 or x is equal to -3. And we can see right here from this example why this can, inside here, can be 3 or -3. So when you have absolute values, you're going to have one, most likely you're going to have 2 answers. So up here, looking at this, what number can I replace this x with to where I get a 9? I can say that x is equal to -9 because absolute value of -9, what is that? That is just 9. Or x can be 9 because the absolute value of 9 is 9. So this right here is why we have x equals -9 or x equals 9. Okay, let's erase. This is number 3. All right, we have those absolute values. So this is telling me that whatever is inside here, my hand has to cover, is equal to a +8 or a -8. Because if I just change this to absolute value question mark equals 8, what can I put in there that equals to 8? It can be, the question mark can equal -8 or the question mark can equal +8. Because if I replace this, 8 is equal to 8, absolute value of -8 is equal to 8, right? So these are all true statements here. This is kind of my thought process over here. So what that means is whatever is inside here, and we'll cover it up, has to equal -8 or has to equal +8. Whatever is inside there. And let me fix it. My hand erased all of it. So all of this has to be either -8 or it has to be equal to 8 based on that property or the definition of absolute value. So I need to come over here and I need to write down n over 2 plus 2 equals -8 or n over 2 plus 2 equals a +8. And then we're going to solve those equations. So we're going to have 2 answers. It's not going to be a plus and a -8. It's whatever inside here. This has to be 8. So that answer has to be equal to -8. So I'm going to solve it. I can get rid of my fractions if I want. Multiply everybody by 2. And then I have n plus 4 equals -16. Subtract 4. N equals -20. So there's my first answer. N can be -20. If I put a -20 in there and solve that out, I'm going to get an 8. So over here, I'm going to multiply everybody by 2. And I get n plus 4 equals 16. I subtract 4 from both sides, and n equals 12. So I can put in here for this n either a -20 or a 12, and I'm going to output an 8. Let's look and see, okay? I'm going to erase this, so if you need more time, just pause it. I said that n equals -20, n equals 12. That's my solutions. So let's test it and see. -20 over 2 plus 2, does that equal 8? We have to simplify what's inside, so this would be absolute value of -10 plus 2. Does it equal 8? This would be -8. Does it equal 8? And this would be, oh, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. 8 equals 8. Yes, so I know -20 works. Yay! Okay, so going to erase again. And I'm going to put 12 in and see if it works. 6 plus 2, does it equal 8? Absolute value of 8, does it equal 8? 8 equals 8. Yes, it does. Now this is what I mean by showing work. I say that all the time. Make sure you show your work, and I showed each step. And I don't just do this in my head and go, yeah, it works. I have to show the steps. All right, so let me see if there's another problem I want to do. One more. Okay, this one's a little bit different. We have 6 plus the absolute value equals 39. Now, all the problems we've done so far, I think we've only done 2, but it's always been absolute value equals something. So we can't set this into 2 equations until we have just absolute value equals something. What I mean is we need to get this by itself first. So I got to get rid of that 6. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and then I have absolute value, 3z equals 33. Now I have absolute value equals a number, so I can set this to the plus and minus of that. So that means 3z equals negative 33, or 3z equals positive 33. So negative 33 or a positive 33. Now I can solve it. I divide by 3, z equals negative 11, or divide by 3, z equals positive 11. It is not always going to be the plus and minus of the same number. You just have to solve it out and see what you get. Okay. One last one before I move on to chapter 5, and that would be the absolute value of 5 equals negative, not 5, absolute value of x equals negative 5. Can we do this? Is there any number that has negative 5 distance? Remember that the negative tells you a direction. It does not tell you a distance. Distance is always positive. So there is no number that I can put in here and this here. So what I mean is, can I put a 5 in? What's the absolute value of 5? How far is 5 from 0? 5 steps. Well, how far is negative 5 from 0? It's 5 steps. So notice how neither one of these results in a negative 5. So when you have the absolute value of something and it equals a negative 5, it does not exist. There's no solution. When you have the absolute value of something equals a negative number, it does not exist, or no solution. All right, you can try these on your homework. Have fun.